We'll ask everyone if you're not speaking to mute your mics so we don't have crosstalk. So welcome everyone to our workshop on Otche Nash. And this is, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, this new project. So we're doing this workshop for a few different reasons. One is that this piece, the Kedrov Otche Nash, it's a beloved piece by the Russian chorus. It's something that we've never had a typeset score for, and there have been oral traditions that have developed along the way. And so Dan Godfrey's done some research to sort of review the practice of performing this piece, and so we'll be going over that. Also, the text is in Slavonic, and there are differences between Slavonic and Russian. And Ben Rifkin will go over those differences so that we can actually perform this with an authentic pronunciation. We'll talk a little bit about vocal preparation for this project and how people working at home can tune up, and so we can produce as good a product as possible. And at the end, I'm going to play the singer's cut of the Con recording that many of you participated in. So I'm not publishing this because, as you'll see, there are parts of it that, although it sounds great, there are some areas where visually it could be improved. And I want to show that to you so that when we prepare this recording, it will also come across visually very nice. So, Dan, any other comments you'd like to add before we get started here?
Well, you don't want to start me talking unless, because I won't stop until you shut me up. But if it just depends on how you want to fit me into the flow of things. I mean, I could make it. I will just to follow up on this version. As many of you, as some of you who were who suffered through my leadership back in around 1970 and thereabouts, I listened to a field recording of a group called the Black Russian Chorus. I forget where in Russia they were from, and the Kedrov was what they sang. And I listened. I sort of tracked down other versions, and everybody sang it in the same kind of flowing speech rhythm that you will hear Blazhen Mush sung, for example, traditionally. So instead of Ije yesi na niebiesiach, it's Ije yesi na niebiesiach, it's speech rhythm. That isn't apparently the vogue now. The rendition by this Bulgarian state chorus, the king singers, everybody you see on YouTube now sing it like it's a marching tune. I'm assuming that that's not what Kedrov really intended, but I did notice that in various scores and renditions there were longer notes that we used to not observe, and I have put those in, and there's one little sort of not there. It's a double cambiata, if you will, on Dozhnikol Nashim, which we never used to do, and I put that in.
Dan,
Otherwise, yeah.
Dan, I've got the score here. If you like, let's dive in and we can look at the score together. How would that be?
Okay.
All right, let me share my screen. So here's the score, and I've highlighted some of your notes. Anything in particular you'd like to focus on?
So, some things like Da Pri Idiot is notated in the scores, the recent scores I've seen, as quarter notes. I put them as sort of stemless half notes. I conduct them slower, the way we have always sung them. A few years after we introduced it, I corrected the fact that you have, sorry, I'm going to see if my piano will work here. So, can everybody hear that?
Yes.
going up to Tvoya. We never used to go up that way, and it happens twice here, and I've included it in both. So you can scroll down a little bit more. So we used to sing Yakozhai, and really what we should have been singing is Yakozhai, right? So Yako gets a little bit more emphasis. There are a couple of things musically I can point out later on, but those are the basic changes. Iostavinam, right? We pause a little bit more on Iostavinam Dolgina Hashim, and that's new. And so scrolling down a little bit more where it says measure 18, instead of singing Yakozheimwe, it's Yakozheimwe. And then Ostavriayam gets a little bit of a pause. Ostavriya. And then here's the new thing. Andoshnikom. And then the baritones holding on to the F so that you get this nice chord. That is definitely in the original Kedroff and is something that I missed in the transcription, but that's got to be something the baritones are aware of. After that, it's pretty much the way we always used to do it.
Okay. I've got the cue recording here. Would you like us to go through that?
Yeah, I actually, there are a couple other things I could point out that they're right near the end, so this is a good page. In rehearsal, I've usually been the one over the past 12, 15 years or so, when it was Bruce and me doing our dog and pony show, I'm the one who usually did Otche Nash. And I repeatedly tried to get people to stop doing something that we're all in the habit of doing. It's in the bass, and the bass is correct, and I just need the basses to be aware of two things. Iostavinam. Sorry. The second time, you go back to the D. A lot of people are in the habit of going down to the B flat the second time. It doesn't do that. Okay? Then the other thing that the basses are in the habit of doing is this. And that's wrong. The basses stay on the B flat until Va. And it's so much more beautiful when you stay on the B flat when everybody else's moves on the third to last note there.
Can I ask a quick question?
Go ahead.
What's the significance of the stemless quarter notes versus the stemmed quarter notes?
The stemmed quarter notes, I just forgot to remove the stems. That's the significance.
Okay, so none have stems.
None should have stems. I hadn't noticed this, Brock, until you just pointed it out. I'm glowing red. I meant to get rid of the stems.
Okay.
So for everyone's awareness, getting these scores perfectly right is maddeningly difficult. In fact, Ben Rifkin just noticed a typo in the transcription. So bear with us.
Louis, why don't I send you one without the stems on the last brace there?
All right. Well, let me make sure I give you my latest transcription, so we're not having.
Well, that won't work. Remember, because I have an earlier version of Sibelius than you do. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So
All right.
So let me let me send you mine, and then yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Okay.
It struck me that the two most important words I saw were molto rubato.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Indeed.
Let me comment on that, guys. So what we're doing is pretty unusual for a virtual chorus. most virtual chorus projects have a steady beat, it's a click track, and everybody sings along with that click track. Here, there is no steady beat, no click track. And Dan conducts it as you say it. So it's going to be very important for everybody to stay with the conductor, stay with the cue track. And as you'll hear, Dan has played the piano along with the conducting, and you'll hear lead singers singing along as well. So, yes, there's a lot of rubato going on, and you'll have to concentrate to stay with the conductor. If people fall behind, then it becomes a mess, and we don't want that to happen.
Can I gloss what you just said?
Absolutely.
So what I did to make sure to keep myself honest is I conducted at first with imaginary sounds in my ear, and then when I played the piano part, I followed my own conducting. So I know that my own conducting is possible to follow. And actually, I just heard a bass cue where Lewis managed to follow my conducting heroically. But what it takes is the problem essentially is this: is that when you do things like Otche, Nash, and Blaženmush, where rhythm flows a little bit and quarter notes aren't equal, you can't conduct a line and sing a line together, an ensemble like Jako wiesz, Gospod był prawiednik, and that kind of thing, unless you can see each other in 3 dimensions, and we can't, right? You can't see the words, you can't see my mouth in 3 dimensions, so it looks like I'm hardly moving it. When I'm over moving it, it's just one of the problems with online. So what I suggest is that you really give yourself several dry runs, even before you push record, following my conducting, and you're gonna find that there are subtle differences. I mean, Lewis picked up on them, so I know it's possible. There's a little bit of an acceleration of it. They're not all equal. Every time I tried to conduct it to an imaginary chorus, it was a little different. So the one I settled on, which is what we're stuck with, is one that you're going to have to watch and listen to. Watch and listen to the piano part, okay, several times, and sing along several times before you're tempted to press the record button. That's point number 1. Just another point. When you're listening to the piano does the opposite of what a voice does. A piano hits and then it dies away. That's not the way people sing. And in many cases, not only do you want to sustain, but you want to grow a little bit through a held note. And there's no way I can convey that in the piano, but I do try to convey it in the conducting. And one of the things that's very hard to do online when it comes to choral singing is staggered breathing, right? And so, except for Otche, Nash, and maybe 2 other cutoffs, everything is like continuous sound. And that means that when you breathe, it's okay. It's probably okay if you don't breathe in the obvious places. It's probably better if you don't, right? So if you're in the middle of a sustained thing and you're about to run out, don't let your voice tighten up. Take a quick breath, open up, and continue the sound as close to what you had before as possible. And then with any luck, you're going to get staggered breathing. But if we all take a deep breath at the end of every phrase, it's going to get very choppy, because there are only really 3 or 4 cutoffs in the whole thing. Does that make sense?
It does. Now, we'll do one more thing that will additionally assist, is that we're going to publish cue recordings where there's a lead singer singing each part. And we're going to make sure that those lead singers are totally following Dan and totally following the piano. And you'll find that having the lead singer in your ear will also make it easier for you to follow along. So we're going to put a lot of effort up front to prepare cue recordings that will make it as easy as possible for you to sing along and participate. In fact, Dan, I think let's play a little of that so the people get a sense of what it is they're going to be working with. Okay?
Sure.
You good with that? All right. So I'm going to share my screen again.
Are you going to share sound?
I am going to share sound. Absolutely. And so we'll do one of these for each part. This is the bass part. So, and let's see, let me just check chat before we get, oh, never mind. Just see if there's any chat that I need to pay attention to. Okay, so we'll get started. You'll see what it is that you will be singing to. So you see how this goes. By the way, if you're curious, the subtitles are in official Yale color. So let's see the
Can I
difference.
just say? Can I say?
Go ahead, Dan. Yeah.
I just want to apologize. There are a couple of places, and every time I recorded myself doing this, they were different places.
Yeah.
Where I didn't quite prepare the next syllable visually. And really the only one that's a particular problem is Otche, Nash, E, right? I just didn't give really quite enough of an upbeat to those it's really the je. I didn't really give enough. So you're going to need to just, in those places where it feels unclear, just memorize the timing to whatever extent you can on the piano, because it's not, the conducting isn't perfect. It's just after about 5 or 6 takes, I just knew it wasn't going to get any better. So
also listen to the singer, because unconsciously the ear picks up when a singer is moving from a vowel to a consonant. So like ij. So that will help you get ready for that next beat when it arrives. So Dan, maybe I'll just keep going and you just call out to stop if there's something you want to comment on. Sound good?
sure. Okay, I want to say something about this. This is really, in some ways, the most brilliant thing that Kedroff did on this, which is that just as in heaven, where it goes up, down here on earth, na ziemi. And even though ziemi is really, there's a Gajic accent at least on, in other words, a length-based accent on yi, ziemi converges on this very darkly, right? The whole reason for that is, in my mind, is that it's earth, it's grounded, right? So Yako Nanya Bisi, and then we ground it back to earth. So we're bringing heaven back down to earth. That's my favorite part in some ways of the whole thing.
And notice there is a cutoff there. There's like, I guess, what is it, 3 cutoffs?
Yeah.
In this? Yeah. So everything else has to be staggered breathing.
So right there, Iostavi is the other place where I completely failed to prepare you to move, right? And you're just going to have to kind of remember that, the timing of that, and I apologize for that. There's always something. That and the other place I mentioned are the two that you really want to look out for, so that we move together on Iostavino. Maybe back it up just a little bit to.
Yep.
Dan, this is Joe Finetti. Before your time on this is done, can you call out the 3 places where we can definitely breathe? Because obviously the bar lines are more frequent than those breaths. I see one actual comma.
So Joe, one cue here is where there's a cutoff, the subtitles go away. So when you get the cue, I mean, as a reminder, that's a place where you can breathe. So
Got it.
So the first one is after Otche Nash, right? And then the second one is after Na Zemni, and then the next one is Na Shim, right? That's the third one, and then the fourth one is the very end. And those of you who are used to my conducting more often than others know that at the very end, when I close my fingers, that's when the final sort of fadeaway actually cuts off. I don't know if that's something you want to edit, Louis.
The subtitles reflect that. So
Okay, all right.
In fact, you'll see this now. Cut off.
That's the cutoff right there.
Oh, it's there?
Yeah, it's when well, actually, the way you did it is fine. And maybe I'm a little too soon.
Because you're. All right, I cut it off when you dropped your hands.
Okay, that's all right. That's okay.
Okay.
I felt like I didn't sustain for quite enough at the end, so maybe that's good.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions from the group before we move on?
My conductor tape doesn't
Henry, say again. I didn't hear
really
you.
align with the. Is that going to be my visuals on the conductor tape do not remotely align with the sound. It's
Okay.
So this is Zoom. Don't worry if things are out of sync. That's a Zoom problem. It's not our problem. You'll get a fine conducting recording.
So just to let everybody know, there's this. So mine aligned perfectly, and for some people, Zoom's account it won't. And as Louis says, that's a Zoom thing. And Zoom is a real problem when it comes to what most of you know of as latency, where depending on your software, your hardware, there are little bits of delay, and your router and everything else. There are little bits of delays between what you get, and that's why you can't do a collective recording on Zoom, because everybody has different latency. Louis, will you be doing a Google share of a? Is that how you'll do it, or?
Yeah, so what we're going to do, there's a Google folder that has all the resources, and when we finalized the Q recordings, we will post them on YouTube, and you can access them there. So we'll have those ready shortly. We just noticed a couple of typos that we need to fix. So those will be. I'll have the conductor recording and the bass recording up later today. And the lead singers on the other parts are Ray Kinoshita, Joe Finetti, and David Geltman. And when we have those recordings ready, we'll post those as well. So we'll let you know when that's all up and good to go.
Dan,
Yeah.
could you just show us again that new quarter note in Dolzhnikom Nashim?
Yeah.
Let me share again.
And I'll play it.
Well, it's mostly how it's gonna be conducted. I didn't quite catch that the first time.
Well, let me play it first.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ostavia jem dłużniku. Sorry. Ostavia jem dłużniku. And so the first and second tenors go down a third before Nashim. Okay? So what you'll see is that when we get to that place, I go, Ostavia jem dłużnikom na... I'm doing it the old way. Ostavia jem dłużnikom naszym. That's pretty much the way I do it.
So a question came in the chat. Will there be another version of the score? So yes, we'll put out an update. If you have access to the Google folder, the latest and greatest is there, and so that should be up later today. I just want to I take that back, because, well, you can record with what we have, or what we'll have today, but as Dan said, he wants to do an updated version without the stems. So there will be another version later, but it will not be substantively different from the version that we published today.
And just ignore the stems if you're looking at it today.
Right.
The end.
Okay, so go ahead.
Chris? It's Nick Shakulan. I can only see the score that you have upon the screen. All I wanted to say was that, Dan, you may not show the next syllables with your hands as well as you would like, but you are doing it with your mouth.
Yeah.
So when in doubt, look at Dan's mouth rather than his hand.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes. It's when you do this thing. This is true if we ever do Blajan Mush, God help us. This will be the same thing. It's the conductor's mouth that's going to make the difference. There's really no other way to really coordinate it as precisely when it's this fluid. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to move on. Ben, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay, good.
I,
Ben,
I am. I need to share screen.
all right, I will stop sharing and I will make sure that you have the rights to share yourself, which you now have. So
Okay.
go for it.
Okay. So, folks, I'm going to be talking about some things that Russian and Slavonic have in common, as well as things that Slavonic does differently than Russian, so that y'all can understand. And one of the things I'm going to be looking at that Russian and Slavonic do the same way, that's very different from English, is the hushers, the husher sounds. And these are the sounds in Russian like ch, sha, sha, and zh. And the pronunciation of those sounds in Russian uses a different pattern of where we place our lips and tongue compared to the closest analogous sounds in English, which makes it a little unusual. But because the name of the text is Otche Nash, those hushers come up right away, as well as elsewhere. So I'm just going to remind you about vowel sounds, and then we'll go on to consonant sounds, and then we'll go on to husher sounds. So the big difference between Russian and Slavonic that makes Slavonic easier for us as readers of the text in transliteration is that Russian has reduction of unstressed vowels. So the words will, voля, on the land, on the earth, na земле, and leave, оставь. All of those have vowels that are reduced, as you can see on the left-hand column. But on the right, those vowels are not reduced. Slavonic pronounces all the vowels fully as if they were stressed. So I'm going to read across line by line. Voля, voля. Земле, земли. Оставь, остави. And you see this handy icon here, so you can go back and listen to the slide, listen to just these sounds, and also the recording will have my pronunciation of them as well.
Slide 3.
Oh, sorry, there you go.
Russian.
Okay, so here's just a reminder of what those vowels sound like. Just, I know we have some doctors in the group, so, just think about what they ask you to do, when they're putting their tongue depressors in you. Or as if you were from New York, never O as totally Californian. Or, ooh, in order to make the ooh sound correctly, you need to be able to see your lip sticking out from your face while looking down. If you can't see them, then you're coming up with a more American ooh, which is really cute. But Ruski has a broad ooh. The most unusual vowel in Russian for American speakers of English is I. And if you put your lips together to say ooh, but then say I, it comes out right. And eh. So those are the vowel sounds.
Slide 4.
Oh, sorry about that.
Vowel sounds.
Okay. With the vowel sound yeah in particular, I just want to emphasize what it sounds like in soft contexts. Yesi, na niebiesich, also later na niebiesi, and budziak. Budziak. So you've had a chance to hear those sounds.
Slide.
And Russian and Slavonic maintain, they both have the difference between hard and soft consonants. So for hard sounds, hard consonant sounds in Russian, the tip of the tongue touches the inside of your front upper teeth. And so if you remember from Bullwinkle, Boris might have said to Natasha, I love you, I love you. But for the soft sounds, the middle of the tongue touches the upper palate, and that's where the sound, the upper soft palate, and that's where the sound
How many
comes.
ups is that?
So, so it's the roof of the mouth. Nick, can you mute yourself? Thanks. So it's you're pronouncing from the middle of your mouth. And we have this in English when we say the names of those states listed in the text in the middle of the slide. I'll say them in just a minute, but think about when you say them, where your tongue is when you say the sound that's N. California, Pennsylvania, Virginia. And for Pennsylvania, I mean the second N, Pennsylvania. It's not up front, it's in the middle, and your tongue is touching the roof of your mouth. Also, the child's taunt, nya, nya, nya. Same thing, your tongue is touching the upper soft palate of your mouth.
Ben, before you go on, in the coin recording, some of the singers were a little confused about the distinction between cha and cha. Could you just reemphasize that?
Can you say again what the problem is?
Ch versus cha, the palatalized T versus ch. Slightly different tongue position.
Yes. So, so the Russian word for tea, as in I'd like a cup of tea, is chai. Chai. And so my tongue, the middle third of my tongue is touching the soft palate, right where it gets to the hard palate, chai. And then I move forward quickly to make the, my tongue moves forward to the I sound, chai. But cha, because it's a dental consonant, the whole tongue is flat against the upper, the roof of the mouth, cha, because the tongue has to, it's a dental sound, so the tongue has to touch the teeth. And that doesn't happen with cha. I'm just trying to think of.
So we have Otche, which is the ch sound.
Right.
And let's see, what's the word with the, well, das, but we'll get that in a moment. That's coming. That's the position we're talking about, yes.
Right. And the hushers are coming.
Yeah.
Like the Russians are coming. So now I'm going to demonstrate hard and soft sounds that have similar consonants in each row. I'm going to go across the row so you can hear, hopefully, the difference between the hard pronunciation and the soft pronunciation. And I see that in the PowerPoint, I didn't boldface all of the colored letters, so I apologize for that. But you'll still see, unless you are red-green colorblind, in which case, let me know. So I'm going to start top left, and I'm going to move across line by line. And that's what you'll have also if you click the audio on this page. Da. Веди. Насущный. Еси. Искушение. Не беси. Оставляем. Несть. Твое. Святится. In addition, for those who might have a problem pronouncing nis because of the n cluster, I would say just get the n and don't worry about the de. If we can have a bunch of us with the de, that dental sound will carry from that. and if you can, I forget what precedes it. If there's a vowel that precedes it, it might make it easier for you to blend from the vowel sound before.
Slide 8.
So in Russian, as opposed to Slavonic, we have the distinction between voiced and voiceless consonant sounds. And with rules about what happens when they're in different positions. But in Slavonic, we pronounce each sound as voiced or voiceless according to its designation, without regard to whether or not it's word final. And that is relevant in particular for the word dazht. Here you see dazht as opposed to the Russian, if there were such a word, because this is a Slavonic version of this word doesn't exist in Russian as such. It would be dai in Russian. Dazht. The closest thing that Russian would have similar would be the word for the noun rain, which is spelled the same way except for an o, and it gets pronounced with a sh and a t sound, dozht. So dazht. And then double consonants are pronounced longer in Slavonic, and we very rarely have double consonants in Russian except for certain grammatical forms, and they're not pronounced longer. So vedi, vedi.
Slide.
Then for those of you who know a little Russian or a lot of Russian, the genitive singular ending written or ge or gets pronounced with a v sound ovo. So we have that in brigands with urazbojnika Lutova, but in Slavonic the ge is pronounced. So lukavogo, and that is correct in the score. The score is correct, except for one typo that I've already shared with you in the chat. So husher sounds. So there's two different groups of the husher sounds. There's the soft hushers, which are on this slide, and they are pronounced with the middle of your tongue touching the the soft upper palate. And if we think about so hya, the second of these two soft hushers doesn't have an equivalent in English. We have something that's between the hard shra and the soft hya in Russian. But we do have a ch sound in English for anybody who has a child. But the pronunciation of the ch in English is at the front of the mouth. So it's different. And because this sound occurs in the very first word, it's one of those places where the native Russian audience is going to immediately hear the accent. So try to practice and make an effort on Otche, Otche, Otche. You don't even have to worry about the test sound. You can just go straight to the ch, Otche, and the ch has to be your tongue, the upper, the middle of your tongue needs to be touching the upper part of your mouth. The same thing in nasushny, nasushny. The sh has to be, it's thick, and it sounds like the way to make it is for the middle of your tongue to be touching the roof of your mouth. Nasushny. And you can practice that on this slide where it says click to play. The hard hushers in Russian and Slavonic are zh and sh. And these are made unlike any sound that I can know of in English. So you can practice doing this with me right now by taking the tip of your tongue and pointing it up towards your upper palate, but not letting it touch. And then trying to say zh, zh, or sh, sh. So your tongue is pointing up into that cavity towards, but not touching the roof of your mouth. And the air is rushing past. And the only difference between these two sounds is that r is voiced. So when you pronounce it, your vocal cords are vibrating. And from last time, if you remember, you put the palm of your hand on your throat, tongue up, pointing towards that cavernous place and say, "R," and you should feel your vocal cords vibrating. Then do the same thing, but without the vibration, and you get, and you don't feel anything in your throat. And so the words that I've drawn from the text that you can practice with here are Nash, Ija, Dajd, Nasha, Должником, Нашим, Искушение. And you can hear those sounds by listening to the recording of this review, or also going to the PowerPoint separately and clicking, over here, click to play, you get the sounds from this slide. And at this point, the presentation is over, so I would just, take questions.
And Ben, why don't you type your email address into the chat window, so if people have questions later, there's a way we can get to them, and then we can compile those and provide them that answers to commonly asked questions. That make sense?
Yep.
Hey, I have a question. Will Ben be one of the guide singers?
No. My pronunciation, I verify is excellent. My singing, not so much.
I have one question right near the end on the E sound, iskushenia, but you said nashim, not nashim.
Nashim.
Why not nashim? Like iskushenia.
Because after the sha, although, you're asking a question that now I wish I had Stepan, because I don't think he's joining us now.
Because when singing it, it's nashim, everybody says, but is it really supposed to be nashim?
Here's a difference between Russian and Slavonic that I'd like to get back with Stepan on.
We're going to assume it's sh, a hard because that's what we've been doing.
After you pronounce the sh, the E sound just flows more naturally after that for a Russian speaker because of tongue placement in the mouth. E is much more, it's a deeper sound, and E is much more at the front of the mouth.
Ben, the very last syllable in the song, are you saying it's pronounced as a G rather than an H?
Lukava go, yes.
Yes.
So it is go at the end.
Yes. Yes.
This is different for many people. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Is it aspirated at all, or is it a hard G? Because the aspiration is how it got to be ho in modern Russian, right? It went from go to ho to ho to, it got softer and softer.
Yeah. So in modern Russian, that would be a V sound. Lukavova.
Yeah.
Here's my confession. I'm bilingual American English and contemporary standard Russian and a Jew. So I'm doing the best I can here. Russian is not aspirated.
Mm-hmm.
And so my sense is no aspiration on the ge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from listening to, and actually we have Stepan's recording.
Yes, in the Google folder is a recitation by Stepan. So we are referring back to that and treating that as the gold standard here.
Right, and I definitely, actually, I'd promote it to the platinum standard.
Yeah.
In general, Russian is not an aspirated language, and that's one of the ways that people will identify us as, if we're lucky, Latvian, and if not, then American. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next topic, I put out a call for people who are doing voice consultations. Many of us are at home and don't have much opportunity to sing and are looking for opportunities to tune up. And I did get one response from Ariana Stoltz, who is new to many of us. Ariana, are you on the call?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Hi. So
Hi.
first of all, let me introduce Ariana a little bit. She sang with Carl Linich at Bard College. And when she heard that we were doing Shenkar Vanachi, she wanted to be part of the fun. So we are really glad to have her as a member of the Yale Russian Chorus extended family. And so let's see, Ariana, after Bard, you studied voice at USC, which is one of the top vocal programs. And now you're singing and teaching virtually. So tell us a little bit about that, how that virtual teaching works. Do people send in recordings to you? How do you typically do it?
Yeah. Well, first, hello, everybody. It's an honor to be with all of you, and it's so exciting. I just got to sing with the Kuny. I think that's how you pronounce it. So Russian has been super new for me. So that's been awesome. But anyways, yeah, so I went to USC. I graduated in 2018, and I was teaching a bit while I was there, but I've been teaching, a lot more after. And pre-COVID, it was a pretty full schedule where I'd go to people's homes and, have students of all different ages. And yeah, during COVID, it has been obviously a little different. I got a really good speaker, and, because of lag, a little bit of warm-ups have been I play something, then they sing it back, or sometimes I give them a recording for a warm-up, and then I can listen to them singing along to it on their side. Or we've been using accompaniments that they play now instead of me playing along. And mostly all of that has been because of lagging. But besides that, it's honestly been really great. And there's been a lot of things like ear training, which have been a lot more mandatory for them to be a practice. But yeah, it's wonderful, and let me know if any of you would like some really basic, easygoing, just voice consultation. It wouldn't be like, hardcore, okay, vocal technique. But if you just kind of, want to get back into it, feel really healthy, just talk about how you can sing in higher places or really low places without feeling strain or a lot of pressure, and just reconnecting with like breath control and breath support and resonance. I would love, hopefully to help with that. The only thing I can help with is the Russian. So hopefully you guys are all at this point really wonderful at Russian. I assume you are. But yeah, it's so great to meet all of you.
Well, thank you, Ariana. Why don't you type your email address in the chat window
Okay,
so people
I will.
got that. So the last thing I want to do before we break, and it'll take us a few more minutes. I wanted to play the singer's cut of the Kohn recording that many of you were on, and it's the singer's cut because it sounds great, but there's some parts that are visually little could be better, and so I wanted to show this to you because this is an opportunity for us to do better next time for this next recording. So some of you will are I do have original sound on. I know some of you don't have a good Zoom connection, so the video may be a little bit out of sync. So just bear with us. It's a Zoom problem, not a problem with the recording that we've put together. And there will be the final cut that should be ready soon. Emma Kazarian is working on that now. But that's going to be cut as a music video where it's going to be interspersed with footage, tour footage from Russia. So you won't see as much of the singers. I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to see how the singers appear. And before I do this, I want to point out a couple of things that I noticed. So first of all, at the very beginning, not all of the singers pop up. So see the top corner, one of them was late to get started. So some singers send us the recording where there's no lead time at the beginning, none at the end. We need at least 3 seconds for fade in and fade out. So take your time to close it. Now, for Otche Nash, at the beginning, Dan is playing the chords on the piano. So just make sure you have that section recording going before you get started, and then the beginning will be fine. But make sure that there are a few seconds at the end as well. Another thing I want to bring to your attention, we resize the singer images so they line up, but for some of them we cannot do that because the video you send in, that your head is clipped at the top. So if you see at the top right, a couple of the singers, the top of their head is clipped off. If we were to resize those, there would be a gap at the top of the image. So we cannot do that. So I just want to stress with you, send us a video that is where you're visible all around, and then we can resize it to match. Another thing that you will see is some of the singers are looking off screen. Some of you were reading the sheet music while you were going through this. That comes across. We really want people to be focusing on the camera. So to make it better, what I recommend you do is to send in 2 recordings, one for audio and one for video. So in the audio recording, we're going to throw away the video, so it's okay to look at the score. No one's going to see that. For the video recording, it's okay if you make a wrong note, no one's going to hear that. So that will allow you to focus each and get them each right. You notice, by the way, the bottom left here, Ariana, she sent in 2 different recordings. You can tell that because she's not wearing an earpiece here. What you're seeing is her video image, and then the audio was mixed into the sound mix. Another thing I want to bring up, this will not be so much of an issue for Otche Nash because everybody is singing together. But notice, so here's the beginning. The first tenors in the bottom left, they're busy singing, and everybody else looks tired and bored. So just be aware that when the camera is on, you are performing from beginning to end. You are actually performing before you utter your first note. So you should have a facial expression which is intent, pleasing, and appropriate for the meaning of the song that we're conveying. So anyway, these are a few things I wanted to bring to your attention. This will all be cut from the final version, but I wanted to show it to you now so you know what we're having to cut out and why we're having to cut it out. So now I'm going to go back to the beginning. I'm going to play this from beginning to end, and you can hear and see what this is like. And frankly, well, I'll let you judge, but the sound came out very nicely in this recording, I think.
Выйду ночью в поле свое. Ночка темная тихо пойдем. Мы пойдем с конем, попою вдвоем. 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 Ночью в поле звезд благодать, в поле никого не видать, только мы с конем по полю идем, только мы с конем по полю идем, только мы с конем по полю идем, только мы с конем по полю идем. Сяду я верхом на коня, ты неси побою меня по бескрайнему полю моему, по бескрайнему полю моему. Дай-ка я разок посмотрю, где рождает поле зарю. Ай, грустичный свет, али да рассвет, али есть то место, али его нет. Ай, грустичный свет, али да рассвет, али есть то место, али его нет. Монюшка моё родненький, дальних деревьев огоньки, золотая рожь, так кудрявый я влюблен в тебя, Россия, я влюблен. Золотая рожь, так кудрявый я влюблен в тебя, Россия, влюблен. Будет добрым год креворот, вылазка рассяка пройдет. Ой, золотая рожь, ой, кудрявый лен, ой, о том, как я в Россию влюблен. Ой, золотая рожь, ой, кудрявый лен. Мы идем с конем по полю вдвоем.
So what do you guys think?
Rallentando is pretty hard.
I thought it was awesome.
Good. So it's, I think the final video with the tour footage will be a really good statement, something that we can present to our growing Russian audience, who will be very impressed by the excellent Russian pronunciation, thanks to our own Ben Rifkin, who coached us on that.
Yeah, I thought the sound was terrific. I just wish you had told us for that recording, watching myself and many others just all over the place with the music, to be able to do the two recordings. It would have been great to fake it. I would have loved that.
Yeah, well, so each lesson learned, each time is better. But I think doing it as two separate recordings will make it easier. By the way, Ariana, I know you and I always do it separate, voice and video. You vouch for that approach, right?
Yeah, Yeah, it's just for me, it's so much simpler. You get to focus on, really having a great sound in a recording, and when I'm singing, sometimes it is not, something you want to like see as a performance. And I'm just like, ba, 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 right? It's definitely not like a visual thing where it's like, wow, that's a performer, So having them separate, I feel like you can really engage with the video and be present and you're not looking off and things like that. So Lewis and I work at the same church, and that's what we've been doing for almost a year now. And so it's been really great.
Yeah.
With all due respect, it's fairly obvious who is doing it.
So just to be clear, we are not, although it would be great to redo Con, that ship is sailing. We're going ahead with what we've done. But for the next one, we're going to do it as separate recordings. So it will be even better than the recording that you just saw and heard.
Before we leave, can I just put in a pitch about sort of the typical choral director's pleas for certain vocal practice?
Go for it.
First of all, please remember that when you breathe, you want to breathe into your belly, not into your upper chest. And then when you sing, you want to sing from your solar plexus and not from somewhere up here, which is all bound up and limited by your rib cage. And the whole idea is to say loose and full and allow every muscle in your vocal apparatus, which includes everything from your toes to the top of your head, to be able to be as loose and flexible as possible so that intuitively you can begin to use them in all these flexible and intelligent, naturally intelligent ways that we've been talking about. And in particular, what you don't want to do is, I would put in a plea that with Otche Nash, that you sing at a quiet level, right? It's a very quiet piece, and you're likely to be more relaxed, and that gives you room to expand where the conductor asks you to, without pushing. So when you do something like na skoiskushenia, you're going way up to the top. You're not pushing. Remember, those of you who've done warm-ups with me, that when I have you go higher, I have you go from your toes down to your heels, just to kind of get the idea that you open up and not tighten up when you're demanding more from your voice, whether it's being quieter or louder. Every time you are intensifying something, think about intensifying it by opening up, not by pushing, because when you push, what you're doing is tightening everything up and making everything sort of throat-based and tight, and you won't really be able to sing at your best. So one of the things that suggests is that, as you saw with Konya, when everybody, it looked like people were standing up. I think for those of you who weren't on that but are participating in this, it's important to do this standing up. It's also important to do a little warm-up. So I think what you can do for warm-up, you don't have to do scales and things like this. What you can do is very quietly, and I emphasize quietly and easily, sing through this thing. That's where you can warm up. You can practice syncing yourself with the conducting and the piano part, and so and the voice, the quartet, and that's a very good way to warm up. You don't really have to go through any sort of prescribed exercises, but when you're doing it, be very active as a listener. Listen to the tuning of the quartet, and listen to the tuning of the piano, and be very aware of your own body. And when you feel yourself tightening up anywhere, let that part of your body go, because you have more control when you're relaxed, not less.
Yeah, and do you mind if I add something to that?
Please, please.
Yeah, and so I think it's Lewis who's doing the mixing, right? Just remember, if you're singing, mezzo piano, right? He can move the volume up, right? So that it matches everybody else, right? So when, if you are feeling like you have to strain, right? Yeah, definitely relax that, right? And it doesn't have to be as loud as you are thinking it has to be, right? And if there is a part that could be louder that he might want a little bit louder, he can master some of that, right? Obviously, you want to try and do dynamics, but if there's stuff that he wants to mix, then he can do that as well.
I can certainly do that, but just to reiterate what Dan said, the basic dynamic here is piano to pianissimo. So don't sing loud and expect us to turn it into pianissimo. That's not going to work. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, if I may say, I just wanted to say that I look forward to trying singing a separate video. I've taken part in these kind of projects with several different groups, and this seems so obvious, however artificial it might be, because it's so frustrating to try to convey the other side of performing when one has to worry about the music and the microphone and the screen and the wires hanging from my ears. And I look forward to presenting the part of the performance that's more than just the sound, because a live performance has so many more elements. I just came from doing singing Valentines with quartets all around Rochester, and it's been something that I've missed for the last 12 months. It was a lot of fun, even though we sang in the freezing cold outside, just to interact with one another. So, however artificial it may seem to you, I'm looking forward to trying it. I think it'll be a good exercise for us, and this is a wonderful piece to try it on.
Yeah.
I have a question about the mechanics of that, Louis.
Go ahead.
I haven't tried this yet, and the way you've all described it and Joe's comments are really good on point. So if I understand correctly, we make a recording, whether video is involved or not, but there's an audio track that we record following Dan's conducting and the ensemble, whatever. And then we play that back and make a separate video recording. Is that pretty much it?
Well, the simple thing is you can do a recording like you did before, but if it's for audio purposes, when you upload it, just mark that it is your audio recording, or somehow indicate that, and then we will know to discard the video track. Now the other option, of course, is you can record audio as MP3, and then there's no ambiguity. But either way, you just need to let us know which is for presentation and which is for sound. Now, it will probably be obvious once we get them, but for clarity, that's what I would recommend. Okay.
But I think what Stu is asking is the norm here is to provide two files. One which is basically focuses on the audio, where you can be looking down at the music and have your earphones on and doing whatever else you want to do. And then the other can be, you can still follow the conductor and everything else just so it looks synced up, but the audio is going to be turned off. It's just going to be a video. And
that's it.
Yeah. And then you send both those files in, and they will sync up pretty nicely, especially if when you're doing the video part, even though you're just lip syncing, you're following the conductor, it'll still look good.
Yeah, actually, one more comment on that. Now, we asked you guys to turn off the soundtrack when you're doing a recording, but for the video recording, it's perfectly fine to be playing the conductor recording in the background, because then we know what we're syncing up with. So that'll also make it easier.
Makes sense.
Any other questions before we break?
Could I just ask for clarification, because I'm now more confused than I was when we started. We are essentially making two recordings, video recordings, rather than one that is just audio, but with different visuals, should we say?
That is, that's right.
Is it possible to make the video only recording with the sound off. In other words, the recording mechanism or the microphone down to 0, which means that you can actually sing along, but if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Well, you can do that, but I would advise against it because for editing purposes, it's good for us to hear what you're doing so we can sync it up appropriately. But once the editing is done, then we will discard that audio track. Okay.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Like, for example, when I did the video separate from the audio, I was just like quietly singing along so that it looked natural. So the breaths were real, right? And the consonants lined up, but I wasn't doing it with any full technique or anything like that. It was just like, sorry, that's my microwave.
Yes.
But I hope that makes sense.
Okay,
Louis,
good.
what is your deadline?
We will give you a deadline. We will set the deadline after we have cue recordings for all parts, and we're confident that they are good to go. And then we'll set the deadline. It'll probably be my estimate is that we'll get the cue recordings done this week, and then we'll have 2 to 3 weeks after that to actually get the recordings done. Let's make it 3 weeks, because since we're asking for 2 recordings from each of you, but we're not going to set the deadline until we have everything final and ready to go. Okay.
So we use the cue recordings. That's what we record on. This is the first time I'm doing this, so I'm asking.
Yeah. So you will basically sing along with the cue recording. So Harlow, remind me what part you sing.
Second tenor.
Okay. So you will get a recording that has conductor, piano, and David Geltman singing second tenor. So you can just sing along with David, okay?
But you want just his voice being recorded. You don't want a re-recording of the piano.
That is correct. So just as before, for when it is an audio recording, we want only your voice. So as we did before.
That's where earphones can come in handy.
That's where earphones are a necessity.
You're listening on the earphones, but you're singing into the mic, but the mic can't pick up what you're listening to.
That's right. So the audio recording will be just like you did for Cohen before, but just with the understanding that we're not going to be keeping the video track for that. Okay.
Last minor technical question. The audio only, does it have to be recorded in the same way as the video, or can I just record it on the audio on my phone instead of the?
That's fine too.
And email it to you.
Email works. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Ray, question.
Oh, just a quick question. There are a couple of spots that I noticed where the piano is not exactly with Dan's conducting. And I am assuming that we should sing with Dan's conducting rather than with the piano.
Ray, what I want you to do is sing with me. I want you to sing to my bass recording, because ultimately we want all the lead singers to be in sync, and then we'll go from there. Okay?
Okay.
So whatever imperfections are there, no one will know if it doesn't quite match the piano, right? But they'll notice if you and I are out of sync. Okay?
Right. So I should tune to you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hopefully that won't be too hard.
No.
Okay, guys. Thank you all. I will let you all go and look forward to a great project.
Great to see you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Good job.
Thanks a lot, Dan.
Nothing to it.
See you all. Take
Good
care.
to see you.